Just remember this. 40 men together can't lose. Okay.
All right, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, and we are here to talk some Rams football, NFC West football, and all the good stuff of football that they're calling the silly season. And I don't call it the silly season, but it's good. It's good to be back. It is February the 23rd, 2022, and we're going to be talking some Rams football, some NFC West, the 49ers window. Super Bowl window, that is, the draft and some names and all the stuff that kind of goes along with what I'm being here is being called the silly season. And people are calling, the space between now and the draft and free agency silly season because it's full of rumors and things that may or may not happen. And a lot of web shows are kind of going off and taking some time off and everything. And I get it. You've worked hard all season. You want to take some time off. But to call this silly season is really it's kind of demeaning to you as the fan because there's always something to talk about. There's always something to look a little deeper at that you can't look at from during the course of the season. In the course of the season, you're wrapped up in the previous games roundup, and then you're in the preparation for the future game, and you really can't get into a lot of stuff unless you want to do a 3-hour broadcast. And who wants to do that? And who wants to listen to that? So we try to keep things here in the 25-minute phase. But it's all the speculation and rumors about the fans that people get on their case about. But I'm going to point out 3 things about what is called silly season that's actually pretty good. First off, it's a win for the NFL. I love football, but I'm not a big NFL fan. But in the case of the NFL, this time of year is awesome. People are more interested in the NFL offseason and the speculation and the mock drafts and the trades than they are about the MLB lockout or the NBA All-Star game or the second half of the NBA season. They just don't care. They've lost interest. And you can see that. It's the whole thing. Like I said a few weeks ago, I said, you say Barracuda, someone says, huh, what? You say shark, and you got everybody's attention. And so also some of the things that take place during the silly season is we know as fans who are, I like to think, nuanced and true fans who really love the game and love what goes on with it and the strategy and the chess match. We know these trades and these mock drafts, they won't happen the way PFF or ESPN or the NFL Network or all the draft sites say it will, or even how your mock draft or my mock draft will say it will. Of course not. It won't happen that way. But what does it do, though? What it accomplishes, what the silly season accomplishes, I say in quotes, silly season, is all the mock drafts and trade discussions are raising awareness about team needs and players potentially available, even beyond the first round. So you remain invested through the draft days that are the second and third days, right? The Rams have given up on first day, and that's cool. Because I really don't care about what the first round draft choice eats. I don't care about their sob story. I can go anywhere in America and find a sob story and people overcoming. I don't need my emotions, as I've said, ginned up by the NFL Network and ESPN to care about players being drafted. I care about what they're going to do for my team. The other thing this silly season does is if you've done your homework and all of a sudden the names that you discussed, the names you looked at, the names you saw that are drafted, not just first round, second and third round, you know those names. And it's kind of a validation of your assessments about your team's needs and the players to release, sign, or draft. So you don't have to feel inferior to the smart guys. If you want to have a good laugh, besides telling God what your plans are, but if you want to have a good laugh, go back and look what the people have said about so many draft busts over the years, or people who proved to be draft busts, and find out. The other thing this does too is that when you look at the mock drafts, you see you kind of get a clear indication of what your team needs are and names to keep an eye on, and it's just fascinating. And then it gains you an appreciation when the Rams get clicks out of a third-round draft pick named Cooper Kupp, right? They get clicks out of a 7th-round draft pick named Nick Scott. And you see those things happen and take place. So it's pretty awesome So it's not silly season, folks. It's not rabbit season. It's not duck season. It's opportunity season. And I can't give away these days because there's so much to talk about in terms of football. And in terms of that, one of the things I go back to in January of 2021, I wrote a column on my website, FanView. Excuse me. I wrote a column about that, and I said that Matthew Stafford would be the starting quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers when the 2021 season started because I thought it made sense. I thought the 49ers are going to do this. The Rams were, of course, cash strapped and everything else. And I thought, yeah, that's going to make sense. And former USC fullback Mike Mooney even commented and said, interesting to speculate about Stafford being moved to the West Coast or to the Rams or to the 49ers. So, of course, we know what went down. Second week, third week of January last year was I was right about Stafford being traded. I was right about Stafford coming to the West Coast. I was right about him coming to California. And I was right about him coming to the NFC West. I was just off by 500 miles, right? I was just off by 500 miles. But I like to think some of that was legit because that was before news broke. He wanted out. You could just read the tea leaves. You look at it and you say, this guy's got amazing talent. He needs out of Detroit. And I didn't know who was going to deal for him. Not really. But I just took my best guess, my best assessment, because we're all invested in this. And it's a lot of fun to invest and speculate. I know guys that play fantasy football. I know people that bet. They're interested in this stuff. And so sometimes we're right and sometimes we're wrong. And we don't need to feel inferior to anybody else if we've done our homework. And that was the last thing I wanted to mention. But speaking of the NFC West, when the Rams did make the deal for Stafford, and then a few months later at the draft, the 49ers made the move to get Trey Lance, I was thrilled because the 49ers window is only going to be open for so long. Now, we say that about so many teams, but we know the 49ers are the next best run team in the NFC West, right? We're going to say the Rams are because they won the Super Bowl. But it's the 49ers and then maybe the Seahawks, and then we know for sure it's not the Cardinals. But every team has its window, how they build. So they drafted Trey Lance, but he didn't start this year. And that made the second consecutive season, counting 2020 at South Dakota State, where he didn't start because he held out because of COVID. He didn't want to play because of COVID. No problem there. But the last time Trey Lance got significant playing time was at South Dakota in 2019. He got some playing time this year and everything, but you knew there was going to be development time for him. I didn't believe in Jimmy G, and no matter, even if they got to the fourth quarter of the NFC title game at 17-7, they still didn't go to the Super Bowl. That's great for the Cardinals. That's great for the Falcons, but this is the 49ers. And they're measuring things by Super Bowls, and they didn't get it done. So 1 year of Lance's development was delayed. So I think if he starts next year, I think he'll do well. I think he's got a lot of talent, but he may need a 2022 season to get ready for maybe a title run in 2023. And this closes the Super Bowl window a little bit more in San Francisco. Patrick Mahomes needed 2018 and the AFC title loss to get to 2019 and an eventual Super Bowl. And speaking of the 49ers windows closing, I know this is a Ram show, but again, we talk NFC West because a third of the Rams games are played against the Seahawks, Cardinals, and 49ers. And as Ram fans, you should never take the 49ers lightly. Deebo Samuel is heading into his fourth season, and he had a marvelous year this year. I mean, you were sick of him as a Rams fan, but you had to love him. He had 136 touches receiving and rushing, which isn't a whole lot, except when you consider he played two positions, running back and wide receiver, and took a significant pounding. You get hit when you carry the ball, okay? When you catch the ball, you get hit too. Not so bad, but you still get hit. See Nick Scott in the playoffs and how he lowered the hammer on Deebo Samuel. Now, Samuel might not break down next year, but if he repeats his 2021 model in 2022, may he be primed? He might be primed for a physical breakdown in 2023. And that's the interesting part is next year, Samuel will make, in the last year of his contract, 3.9 rocks. That's almost $4 million. And then he becomes a free agent. And if he's beaten up or you see any decline, what do you do with salary cap issues then? It's going to be really interesting to see. Another one is interesting to see is George Kittle, who was drafted in 2017. Now, 2017 was what, 4 years ago, but that's 5 years ago. That's a lifetime in the NFL. And George Kittle, who was taken in that 2017 draft, he's going to be 29 next year, entering his 6th season. You know he's taken a beating. And if Trey Lance needs a year to develop, that pushes Kittle into his 30th year and 7th season in 2023. That means he could be beat up a whole lot more. Now, Kittle's contract kicks in next year because he got his 2nd contract already. Good for him. He makes 11.4 this coming year, 11.6 in 2023, and then 13.4 in 2024 and 14.4 in 2025. And if his body holds up, awesome, great. If it breaks down and he becomes unproductive, he looks like a cap casualty to me. And that means the window is open now. Nick Bosa, he's a Bosa. He's great, but injuries are part of his makeup. He'll make $895,000 in 2022 and then possibly earn a franchise tag in 2023. But if he breaks down, and he has broken down already. Trent Williams, some people are calling him the best player in the NFL alongside Aaron Donald. That's great discussion for a lineman to be in that. He's getting up there. He'll be 34 next season. If he goes the Whitworth route, no problem, right? He'll play another 7-8 years. That's no problem. But he'll be 34 next season and 35 if Lance needs a year of seasoning to make a run in 2023. And Williams is signed through 2026. He makes in this order over the next 5 seasons. He makes $7 million, $19 million, $20 million, $22 million, and then $32. Even if he does turn to Whitworth, is he going to make $32 million? Do you think they're going to keep him around to make $32 million? And Whitworth, remember, is an outlier. And so it'll be interesting again to see this window is contracting. Frisco has to win now, and it's not widening. And then, of course, there's all the talk about Frisco bringing in Tom Brady. I say great. Everything will have to go right. Everyone will have to stay healthy. And even if they do, the Rams are 3-0 against Tom Brady in the NFC, right? I don't think it's a terrifying thing. And then what if also the bill comes due on Brady? What if suddenly he turns old and Frisco misses if they bring him in? Then that window is shut permanently. And I say hallelujah, but it's just something that you should think about in terms of the NFC West and how it affects the Rams. The other thing that I'm looking at the NFC West is you look at Seattle, and this won't happen because Pete Carroll and John Schneider, the GM, don't. But they need to stop the talk about trading Russell Wilson. Really, you're going to trade Russell Wilson and think you're going to compete in the NFC West? It's not going to happen. Instead, they do need to adopt, as the Rams won a title, and we talked about this earlier, more teams should be adopting this Ram model, is they need to talk about trading Russell Wilson and start dealing future pieces to pick up and put draft picks to put pieces around him. You know, they foolishly gave up 2 number ones for Jamal Adams to the Jets. They can't make choices like that and such. But they also need to move off Bobby Wagner. I think Bobby Wagner's great. It's heresy to say that in Seattle. I know. But Bobby Wagner counts as 16 rocks, $16 million against the salary cap. And maybe they can move him. He's got 1 more year left, and then he's an unrestricted free agent. Maybe they can move him for a team in the AFC that's ready to make a run. He still has value and get out from under his contract. It's only a 1-year deal, so you might be able to get something. The other one that's in the Seahawks lineup that I would say that I would move off on is Quandre Diggs. Quandre Diggs has been fantastic for the Seahawks, but he's 29. And they're talking about giving him a market value contract, which would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $12.1 million a year. They shouldn't do that. They should free up their cap space so they can go after some, again, pieces to put about Russell Wilson and make their offense a little more dynamic. I don't think you're going to rebuild a struggling defense by keeping Wagner and re-signing Quandre Diggs. You know, your best hope might be to win a few shootouts in Seattle and not win defensively. But of course, that's Pete Carroll, right? And we don't think it's going to happen, but that's what they should do. Finally, with Arizona, I pray again, please give Kyler Murray his money. Beautiful, give Kyler Murray his money, franchise tag Chandler Jones, spend all that money, invest all that, and don't get any better. I've heard discussion about Murray staying in the pocket more. Someone said he needs to stay in the pocket more. That's like, go ahead and make my day. He has exceptional arm talent, but in his present physical condition, which is short, he's not a pocket quarterback. That's just insane talk that's out there. My question, though, for the Cardinals is, do you look for, or any coach out there is do you look for a different offensive lineman or guard or tackle when you have a Kyler Murray versus a traditional quarterback? Do you look for something different? What do you want in your lineman, in your left tackle, and you're covering your blind side? Do you need something more mobile when you have a Murray, or do you just go with the typical, prototypical Trent Williams or Andrew Whitworth type? Just curious. Final ads, some here as we hit the 16th minute. In regards to Raheem Morris, he's not going to get a head coaching job, which is kind of a bummer because there could have been some compensatory picks there. But Rams won the Super Bowl with Raheem Morris, and we didn't like Raheem Morris. I didn't like the defense this year at all. I thought it was way soft. But you know what? It's time for us to shut up. I don't like it. I think the defense hurt corners like Darius Williams. I think those corners had to play off quite a bit. And Ramsey can do anything, but Darius Williams, I think he suffered somewhat from the scheme because it was so soft. When you saw how far off the receivers, there was no challenging the receivers this year until late. But the Rams won a Super Bowl, and that's all I have to say about that. Rams won a Super Bowl, so we can't complain, and we got to give Raheem Morris the benefit of the doubt going into next year. Nothing new on Andrew Whitworth, his retirement or his stay, and everyone thinks he's going to retire. And if he does, the Rams get back 16 big ones against their cap, which will allow them a lot more flexibility, much more flexibility with their free agents. So that's something to keep an eye on. And then finally, last week we went through names and people who were in mock drafts that fans and different draft sites were mentioning. We listed them. When I posted from the Ram Cave on Friday, we listed them, and we'll just keep adding to it as time goes on. Now, a couple of things that are interesting because there's some flexibility here in terms of compensatory picks. The Rams, I've seen with their compensatory pick in the third round, is drafting anywhere from 106 to 104 to 103. The latest one has them drafting in 103. And there's also one projecting the Rams as having a fifth round pick, which I did not see. But I'm sure something else is coming down the road that'll let us know if they do indeed have a fifth round pick. And we'll go from there, which would give them 8 draft picks for this year's draft instead of 7. So anyway, these are the draft picks that the Rams, the latest draft board mock draft had the Rams taking. And again, I'll post this on Friday from the Ram Cave. With the 103rd pick, the Rams take Arizona State left tackle Kellen Diesch. He's 6'7", 300 pounds. He's kind of upright. They say he could play swing tackle, guard, right tackle. But again, it's another case of the Rams looking for an offensive lineman, as is pick number 141. They have the Rams taking Cameron Jurgens, a center. Remember, we saw Rams taking a center, Dylan Parham, in other mock drafts, two mock drafts. And in this one, there's Cameron Jurgens from Nebraska, who can also play some guard, who was a late move to center. He's 6'3", 290, and he comes from Nebraska, so he's physical, but they're going to find out about him maybe. This was an interesting one with that 5th pick, the 174th overall, Tyler Beatty, a running back from Missouri, and he's 5'8", 200 pounds, and he's projecting as like a hybrid wide receiver running back, which is the current rage, right? And there we go, Darren Deebo Samuel. But at 5'8", 200 pounds, he makes me think more of Darren Sproles. And so that's not bad, though. Who wouldn't want a guy like that, especially we'll be moving off Sony Michel. It's going to take something amazing to keep Sony Michel. Christopher Allen at 210 in the 6th round. He's an edge rusher from Alabama. They say he's got second-round talent, but knee injury in 2018, foot injury in 2021. But he can play, but he's going to drop 6'4", 242, great size. But the Rams have a talented guy who can't play, who's always getting hurt. His name's Terrell Lewis. So that'll be interesting there. With the 211th pick, they project the Rams taking Josh Blackwell, cornerback, kick returner, punt returner out of Duke. It's a roll of the dice. But they think because he's fast, but he's got limited experience on speed, on defense, they can get something out of him. It's a project. 6th round, it doesn't hurt, but every pick matters for the Rams. With the 213th pick, they mentioned Javon Haley, a wide receiver out of Coastal Carolina. They say he should go higher, but he's an inconsistent player. He's not a great route runner. Well, he doesn't have great speed and can function as a returner, but they do say he's a great route runner. And as you watch the players that are making it in the NBA, Cup route running is what it's all about. At 236 in the 7th round, they project the Rams taking DeMarco Jackson, linebacker from Appalachian State. He's not particularly strong in coverage or strength-wise anyway, but he seems to be able to run and tackle and did well at the Senior Bowl. The Rams like players from the Senior Bowl. Traditionally, they'll grab a lot of players out of that Senior Bowl, and they view him as a super special teamer, and we'll see. And then finally, the last one at 251, Allie Green IV. He's a cornerback from Missouri, 6'3", 206. What a great size for a corner. Big, physical, and they hope he can develop proper technique because he's not fast. And so he would obviously be a project. But you get an idea across the board of all the mock draft boards. They list the Rams as taking offensive linemen, center, tackle, tackle, center. And so you get an impression through the silly season of what the Rams would be looking at. And, of course, last season the Rams could have drafted Creed Humphrey. Instead, they draft Tutu Atwell. So you don't know what they're going to do. But, again, this is your time, so you're not surprised and you're familiar with these names. All right, cool. So, hey, we are at the 22-minute mark, and I'm going to wrap it up out of here. Again, I'm Joe Terosian. You can follow me on joeterosian.com. Read FanView, read From the Ram Cave every Friday. If you want to follow my writing newsletter, because I do write books, you can email me at jtbank1964@yahoo.com. Join my newsletter. My Twitter handle is at JoeT13B. It's the same on Instagram. And, of course, as you're watching this, we'd love for you to subscribe to RamView here on YouTube and share it with your friends, share it other places on social media as we continue to talk about Ram football, even in the silly season, and looking forward to do it more and more and more. Oh, yeah, someone got me a mug. They got me a mug to celebrate the Rams. It's a Super Bowl coffee mug. I thought that was kind of cool. And also I was given a Rams #1 finger by another fan. Actually, watcher, people who watch the thing. The other thing there is those are my playoff socks that I wore through the playoffs. My intention is not to put them back on until next January, and I won't wash them either. We'll just leave them right there. All right. Thanks a lot, guys, for clicking on, and we will talk to you tomorrow.